Each one has a different trajectory. And human beings' variation is tremendous, you know. I think it's dangerous to oversimplify.
Why do you say so?
Because you are dealing with them directly, right? And you want to either get what you want or you want to get them to do what you want. And if you start making assumptions which are wrong,
you lose.
You lose. So don't make a priori assumptions. Just deal with them like another human being, which is what they are.
But there are personas, they are trying to fake something certain times. How do you
It doesn't matter.
that?
If they're trying to fake, use it. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, let them fake if they want. But you know, human beings know it when you fake. I mean, when a teacher stands up in classroom and doesn't know his stuff, you know. You might not say anything. You might go to sleep in the back of the class, but you know. So most people know when people are trying to fake it or trying to, and especially, it's interesting, Mearsheimer, the political scientist, IR scholar, he wrote a book called Why Leaders Lie. And he studied 500 years of history. And he came to the conclusion that leaders very seldom lie to other leaders abroad. Internationally, leaders don't lie. Why? Because the other people are not under your control. They can see through it and they will make you pay for it very quickly. But they lie a lot to their own people in domestic politics because they think they can control this environment. And they have the levers of power, whether it's the media, whether it's this, that and the other. And he says this is not because of technology today or anything. He says this is true for 500 years of history. It's been like that. But that's not the general impression, right? People say, oh, diplomats are sent to lie abroad for the country. That's not true, because what does a diplomat have? He has credibility. The other person will listen to him. He's not carrying a gun to shoot him. So he can't force people to do what he wants.
Right.
I mean, he might have the threat of force, but right now it's his credibility that matters. So therefore, lying is not the best way to establish credibility.
And you mentioned they have varied
They would have come with different educations, different understandings of what the world is, how it works. You know, their experiences will be very different.
And is desire...
And when you look at leaders, I mean, just you look at our, you know, three prime ministers. I mean, you look at Vajpayee, look at Manmohan, Singh, look at Modi. Are they similar people?
Very stark.
Look at the difference. And yet they're all prime minister of India. They ran India, and in many respects they followed very similar policies. Every government says I'm unique and better and new, but ultimately Indian policy has been fairly consistent, steadily.
Also, tell us, you've worked extensively with Mr. Manmohan Singh. How was it? How is he as a boss? What are certain things that you learned from him?
He's a very easy person to work with, but he's also at heart a professor. So when you meet with him, you always leave the room with a little more than you went in. You learn something or the other, and his knowledge is really deep on most issues, because he's also been in public life for a long time. He's thought quite deeply about these issues. It's interesting because he, Mr. Vajpayee and Narasimha Rao all have been in Delhi at the center of things for many years, for many decades. They really knew not only how it worked, but they also had thought through what was best for India. And one thing I saw with all three of them was they would never say, oh, this is good for my party or this is good for me and my election. They always asked, what's in our national interest? The question was always simple. Do you think it's in our interest? Our meaning the national interest, which for me was reassuring.
There is certain specific instance.
But then, you know, I'm a apolitical civil servant, right? And it's not my business to worry about their political party and what they do. I'm sure they did that separately. But we always kept it separate.
How do you ensure
and which is why, if you think of it, you know, Narasimha Rao sends me to Israel, Gujarat sent me to Sri Lanka, Vajpayee sent me to Pakistan, China, and Manmohan Singh brought me back. So, you know, I'm an apolitical civil servant. I worked for all of them in an era of coalition governments.